Welcome, animal lovers. Hi, this is Kim. NAVDAG would not be what it is without you. Thank you. In a major disaster, intake will get slammed. We need all hands on deck. Put on your cape, be the hero. It might be their worst day ever. Even if you just have an hour until your next assignment. First step, sign in. Initiate your 214. Check in with your shelter lead to be assigned. If you're the first one there, you may be assigned intake lead until someone can relieve you. If you are assigned intake lead, know what is going on. The incident name, this is the name of the disaster. Location letter, being assigned for the animal intake master list. How many volunteers are on hand? Shift assignment. 4 people work the public desk. 2 you will need for the evac desk. Intake runner, as many as we can. Always offer water to your fellow volunteers and the public. Intake setup. Located in the intake forms tab are the checklists, maps, and protocols. These forms will guide you through the process. If the shelter is at Del Laurel, everything will be in the comms office. Otherwise, everything will be in the small animal trailer. Here's the intake checklist. This will guide you through the process. It is located in the intake forms tab. If you are the first one there, you will need to set up intake. Health issues. If an owner has a complicated case, it is best that they take their animal to their veterinarian, not sheltering it with NAVDAG. NAVDAG can administer medication with written permission from the owner. This is determined by case-by-case basis, approved by Butte County Animal Control or Shelter Lead. Document this on your animal intake form. We are not here to judge. If you suspect neglect or abuse, do not confront the owner. Go up the chain of command. Talk to your lead. Some conditions can be misleading. The intake form. Your information is first. The name of the disaster. Received by, this is the volunteer that is filling out the form. Your name and AR number is required in order to contact you should there be any questions. Always use military time. Owner information is next. You'll put the date, time, how many animals, the owner's name, cell phone, get their driver's license number, and their address. If you can get an alternative contact, do that also. And where are they staying during the disaster? Down the line on the form is the animal description. Write the animal's name on the animal description line. This animal is a Rottweiler, black and mahogany, and it has a purple collar. Its markings and the tail hair is forked. You will write all this down in the description. Dog, female, spayed, breed, color, approximately 6 years, markings, wearing a collar, yes, it's purple, wearing tags, yes, 3 tags, microchipped, yes, needs to be scanned, was not scanned at intake, needs or remarks. Get instructions on specific care for exotics or any animal with special needs. This section below pertains to evacuated animals. The owner's signature. You will need to read the liability release, mark allow or decline, date, and have owners sign. Assigning animal ID number. The first capital letter represents location where animal ID is assigned with its master list. The number represents the owner. The second capital letter represents each animal of that owner. For example, 1 with 3 animals. V is the location letter. 1, this is the first person in line, and A that is the first animal. V1B, the second animal. V1C for the third animal. Next, one animal. This is the second person in line, and V is the location. 2 is the second person in line. A is for the one animal. The third example with two animals. V, the location letter. 3, this is the third person in line. A is for the animal. V3B is for the second animal. Each animal must have its own animal intake form and animal ID number. Never change the animal ID number. The first capital letter is based on the animal intake master list location. If two intake areas are at one shelter, they will have their own first capital letter and master list. Animal Shelter Lead or Butte County Animal Control will assign the location letter that is to be used. Here we have used D for Del Oro. This is the first person to come, so they're number 1, and they have one animal. Alicia Tucker. Jasmine is the name of the dog, and it is D for dog. At the bottom of the form are the abbreviation for animal species. Evacuated owner arrives at shelter. Intake runner greets the owner, completes the animal intake form, reviews information to make sure everything is in there, verifies if carriers for transport are needed, gives completed intake form to Assistant 1. Assistant 1 checks form. If not completed, returns to the runner to complete it. Assigns the animal intake number, writes it on the intake form and the master list. Enters animal and owner's information onto the master list. Gives the intake form to Assistant 2. Assistant 2 rechecks all information is clearly legible on all 3 copies of the intake form, separates the intake form into 3 parts. White is filed in the intake binder. Yellow copy is placed under a plastic sheet cover with a clipboard for the shelter worker. Pink is given to the intake runner to give back to the owner. Verifies if carrier is required for transporting, uses the family radio, calls appropriate lead to come and retrieve the animal. Notes which owner the intake runner is returning to, so when the shelter worker arrives, can direct them to the correct owner. Intake runner returns to owner, gives owner the pink copy of the intake form to keep and bring with them upon retrieving their animal. Have the owner take a picture of the pink copy for security. Wait with the owner until the shelter worker arrives. Once all animals have been taken into the shelter, help the owner to exit safely. Start the process with the next owner in line waiting for assistance. You can always stop the video, pause it, so you can read over this. To get more information in a detailed instructions, refer to the intake release transfer protocols on our website. Stray. Under owner name, if an animal is a stray, write stray. Under stray animal picked up at, write the address or cross street and the city. If the Good Samaritan is willing, get their name and contact number in case there are any questions that come up later. Take extra precaution not to put the Good Samaritan's name under owner's name. Write a brief description under animal description. Stray information. On the intake form, make sure you put the name of the disaster and who is taking this information. Leave animal name, address, cell blank until the owner is found. Where the stray animal is picked up will help us to ensure we find the correct owner. On the master list, we've put this animal in as D for Del Oro. 2, this is the second person that has come to the shelter, and they have one animal, so it is A. Evac teams are given top priority. We need to get them in and get them back out on the field. The evacuation intake, you need to assist the evac team, label carriers, assess the animal. If they need water, get that for them. They will give you the request for animal services. Evac team will bring the yellow copy. If needed, make copies. Transfer the information to the intake form. This is the request for animal services. This is the part 1. Hotline operator has filled all this information out, and the evac team is bringing this to you. Alicia's brother, Andrew, called hotline to rescue his sister's cat at her home. The second part of the form, from the request for animal services, we are transferring all that information to the animal intake form. Part 2, this is the animal description. And on the bottom of this section, this is where you would say the owner has been called, and they will come in to sign the liability release. Here is the liability release at the end of that form, owner's signature. It is important that the owner come to the shelter to sign the liability release. You will need to read the liability, mark allow or decline, date, owner's signature. This is the first animal at the evac intake, so we are using E for the evac intake. Please do not use E for another NAVDAG shelter. E1, this is the first person there, that is for the owner, and A, there is one animal. Release to owner, RTO process. Shelter worker will bring these forms upon release. We have 3 different animal care schedules: dog and other animals, one for cats, and one for large livestock animals. Evacuated owner returns to shelter. Intake runner goes to the owner's vehicle, greets the owner, retrieves the pink copy from the owner, verifies driver's license or other picture ID, verifies need for transport carriers, takes the pink copy to the Assistant 2. Assistant 2 finds corresponding white copies of the intake form in the intake binder, gives all copies to the intake runner for the owner to sign and date. Using the family radio, calls appropriate lead to bring all animal care schedules and any other paperwork with the animal, verifies need for transport carriers. Intake runner returns to the owner, have owner sign all white copies of the animal intake form on the owner's signature at release line. Returns signed white copies to the intake assistant. 1. Animal intake form, owner's signature. This is where they need to sign on the bottom of the form. Make sure it is dated and the time of signature. If approved, an animal is released to a person other than the owner, print their name below their signature with contact cell, date, and time. Shelter worker, barn worker, depending on the shelter, reviews animal care schedule to update the owner on current status of animal. Brings animal, clipboard, and animal care schedules to intake assistant 1. Then takes animal to owner's vehicle where intake runner is waiting. Large animal barn worker will assist owner with loading all animals. Assistant 1 retrieves clipboard and paperwork from shelter worker, enters animal release date and time on the intake master list, highlights it with a yellow highlighter. Do not give copies of the animal care schedule to the owner. Give relevant information verbally. Place animal care schedule and white copies of the intake form into the RTO binder. Keep all animal intake forms in the binder by animal ID numerical order. Intake runner gives the owner a NAVDAG brochure, stays with the owner's vehicle until shelter worker arrives, directs owner to exit gate. Refer to the intake release transfer protocols for more detailed instructions. All forms are available on navdag.org. Thank you so much. We can all make a difference.